Welcome to Heartfelt with Julie Margerison, a space for honest stories, tender truths, and soul-deep conversations. I'm your host, Julie Margerison, and here we explore the questions that stir something real in us. Questions about joy, fear, healing, and the moments that shape who we are. Each episode is an invitation to slow down, go deeper, and hear the kind of stories that remind us we're not alone in this human experience. So wherever you are right now, thank you for being here. Let's begin. Hello. I'm so excited. Here's Narelle. Say hi, Narelle.
Good morning.
Narelle is my next guest on Heartfelt with Julie Margerison podcast, and I'm so excited to have her here, and I just can't wait to hear her story. I've known Narelle for, I'm going to say 4 years, and Narelle has been, she's the tech queen. You know, she used to help me when I used to ask those dumb questions, and she had the patience to answer them. And I'm sure there's still lots of things that I don't know, but Narelle was very patient with me. So I'm so grateful for that. And I'm going to put my glasses on and read all about Narelle. So Narelle is a heart-led creative. How beautiful is that? Wow, it makes me all tingle. With a sharp, strategic mind, equal parts soulful and switched on. She brings warmth, wit, and clarity to everything she touches. She's a grounded yet visionary. Narelle thrives in community, collaboration, and creative chaos. I like that. Yeah. Turning big dreams into beautiful, executed experiences. She has a deep love for connection, a great eye for detail, and a playful, can-do energy that draws people in. I just want to elaborate on this, but I've got to let Narelle tell her story. So she's just so beautiful, and I'm going to hand it over to Narelle. Narelle, before I ask you any questions, is there anything that you'd like to share first?
Look, I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to chat with you this morning, Julie, and thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. It still gets me a little bit awkward hearing those words spoken about me, but I truly believe that they're true. And I feel like community and connection is so important for all of us. So it's really beautiful that you're bringing your community together in this way. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I just feel like I do want you to expand on what you do in the community, because Pranafest is a word that is very well known to you, and I wondered if you might want to share with the audience what part you take in Pranafest. I know this is not something we spoke about, but I feel like I need to bring it up now.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Look, I mean, Pranafest is a beautiful event that brings our spiritual or conscious community together. And it also gives people the opportunity on the other side of that who haven't quite explored their own awareness of conscious behavior or living. And we give them the opportunity to dip their toe into some modalities, healings, and ways of life that probably aren't so common on the outside of the Sunshine Coast. I was invited to be a part of it 5 years ago from my very beautiful friend, Brett Gadeen, who is one of the co-founders of the festival. And he brought me on board to help out with all of the media, the marketing, the pulling the brand together. What did we look like, feel like, sound like, all that kind of stuff. And so my job within our now crew of 6 people is to keep on top of our our marketing, the conversations we're having with our community. How do we want to be perceived in our community, and what gift do we bring into the community online? Because primarily we are an online community. We have an app called the Flow State Experience where we can connect with people online in between our events. And the one big event itself that happens in June every year is sort of the culmination of pulling all of those bits and pieces together in for a bit of a celebration, a gathering, a reconnection, and a recalibration so that we can all immerse ourselves in a lifestyle that is complementary to the way we want to live our lives. And I love how far we've come in that 5 years. You know, we've gone from our first festival was 300 people, if that, including all of the facilitators and the staff and everyone. And this year we reached a milestone of around 2,500 people. So,
Wow.
yeah, in 5 years, that ripple effect has really started to spread through interstate and even overseas now. So we have a globally recognized brand, which is just bonkers to me. But, you know, we've worked so hard to be able to share our message through the right channels. And yeah, it's just so lovely to see the success that both Brett and Dom are having now with this beautiful festival that they've created.
Thank you very much. It's certainly on my list of things to go to, and now it's like, oh, Russell, we have to go next year. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay, I really appreciate that lovely share.
you're welcome.
Okay, is there a question that you'd like me to start off with, or will we just go with the first one on the list?
I want you to start with the question that you think is going to be the most interesting to hear about.
Oh, wow. Oh, goodness. You know what it is? It is, what is something, because I'm asking this question because I feel like Narelle is quite an open book. So I feel like she's going to have a little bit of trouble digging deep to find this answer. So I'm keen to know what it is. So what is something you've never said out loud, but you wish someone would ask you about?
You know what? That is the question on the list that I had the most trouble thinking of something to say, because I say most things out loud all the time.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm still thinking about that one. What do I wish someone would ask me? Um, I never speak very much about my previous marriage. And it's not a story that I tell most people. It's something that I hold quite close to my chest because it was a very traumatic time in my life. And so, you know, over the last couple of years, I've been a little bit more open with sharing about that, but only if the question comes up from somebody else first with like the experience that I had. So, but I really feel like it's a story that a lot of other people could benefit from hearing. Um,
Mm, yeah.
yeah, so I married a beautiful man. He was super romantic and super lovely, and we had a number of really good years together. But unfortunately, he was quite traumatized and refused to really get any help. He didn't see any professionals or anything like that, and instead chose to self medicate with drugs and alcohol. And you know, many years into the marriage, that really started to affect our relationship. It affected the way he treated our children. And, you know, towards the end of our relationship together, he started to be quite violent and disrespectful. And yeah, it was a domestic violence situation. So, you know, I found myself with children who were just coming into the age of double figures, and a parent who was not a very good role model, and whose behavior was very questionable. And it got to the point where I couldn't even leave our children at home with him because he was so irresponsible. And you know, the way that he was disrespecting me, the way that he was disrespecting them, it wasn't okay for me to demonstrate to my daughter that it was okay for someone to treat me the way he was treating me. And it wasn't okay for him to demonstrate that behavior to our son, either that it's okay to treat women the way he was treating me, or anyone really, but you
Mm.
know, a person whom he was loved and was married to. And so there was a catalyst, an incident that happened where I had to go away and I left the kids at home with him, and he had this really violent outburst. And I was miles away in Sydney in another state, and I got this phone call from my then 10-year-old son saying that he'd had to lock him and his sister in their bedroom because their dad had just lost the plot and, was throwing things around the house and yelling at them and, displaying the sort of behavior when he was drunk that was obviously very scary for them. And so, I got on the first plane I could home and then had to make a really big decision and have a really big conversation with my children about that. And yeah, it was really disturbing. I, was so scared and anxious for them. And I didn't have family up here that could go and rescue them. I had to call a girlfriend and get her to go around and put her life in danger. And yeah, it was just a really horrible experience. And coming out of the other side of that, just realizing that there are so many other women and men who go through those experiences alone and don't really know who they can reach out to. And thankfully now, like this was 14 years ago now, so it's been quite an amount of time, but there are so many people and organizations out there now who can support those kinds of situations.
Mm.
And to be able to tell that story and say to someone, I've been there, and you must reach out. You must call in those resources. You must have those difficult conversations. You must put yourself first and protect yourself and your children if you have any, and make those big choices, because as much as you love them and as much as you see the best in them, if that is the behavior that they're displaying, nothing's going to change that.
Mm.
If you've been in that relationship for enough years to be able to predict that behavior, then nothing's going to change that
Mm.
behavior outside of, you leaving that relationship and protecting yourself and finding something better for yourself. So, yeah, I feel like that there's, so many more organizations and opportunities for people to remove themselves from those kinds of relationships. You just don't have to live through that. And yeah, I wish I had have known that sooner, for sure.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing that rawness and realness that you have gone through. And I'm sure you sharing your story is going to help people know that there is help out there. And it must have been such a big decision for you to make.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we'd just moved here as well. We hadn't lived on the Sunshine Coast for very long. So everything was new and strange and weird. And I didn't have a friend group, or, it was just really overwhelming. And it took me a good, like, 5 years, I reckon, to find my center again after that
Mm.
whole thing happened. And, the
Yeah.
separation, the moving, the shuffling things around, and, finalization of divorce and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a big experience, for sure.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we change the frequency of this a bit and actually start with what brings you joy, Narelle?
Oh, I love that question so much. And I think, it's just the simple things for me. It's seeing the people I care about happy. It's seeing dogs running on the beach with their smiley faces with all their friends, just living their best life. When the flowers start to bloom in my garden and I can smell all of those beautiful aromas, that makes me happy, brings me joy. Honestly, the little things, being able to live where I live, and I have beautiful friends and friendships. I love my work. Like literally everything in my life. If it doesn't bring me joy, I don't want it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's very all present moment things, isn't it, that you're
Very much.
saying?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, great. Do you have a fear that you know that is holding you back?
Oh, I reckon I do. And I've I get very bad FOMO, Julie. I like to be involved with everything. I don't want to miss out on anything. But I think that can be a very big drawback for me because I get overly focused on helping other people or being involved in collaboration with so many other collectives in bringing amazing things to life that I tend to neglect my own business. And I tend to give myself the excuse that, oh, I'll do that later after I finish this task, and then I don't always get there. So that it's the fear of missing out on other amazing things that's holding me back from making my own magic at times. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great awareness, isn't it?
May as well kick myself.
Have you ever had a life-changing moment that you'd like to share about?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had many, many life-changing moments, but I think one of the biggest catalysts for change for me was after said separation. About a year after our separation, I'd found my feet. My kids and I were living in a beautiful home in Moffat Beach. I had a great job that was very supportive. However, it was financially supportive, but it wasn't really supporting me as a person. It didn't make my soul sing, let me put it that way. And I was finding myself getting anxious and overwhelmed and starting to be overly stressed. And I was just kind of learning about stress and how that presents in my body at the time. Anyway, it was probably would have been 4 years into the job or 4.5 years into the job that I'd had throughout the separation that I decided I wanted to take us all on a family holiday. It was a year after the separation. We'd been through, a big mess of a time and we just needed a break. And so I booked us a holiday over to Thailand, my kids and I. But before that, one of my girlfriends from Byron Bay rang me and she's like, "Oh, have you ever heard about ayahuasca?" And I said, "Oh, actually, I have. It's sort of kind of been coming up around my field a little bit lately. Why do you ask? Tell me more." And she's like, "Oh, I've got this opportunity to sit in a ceremony circle with a shaman in Byron." It was just outside Byron, actually. She's like, "A really good friend of mine has done it, and it was just changed her life. And here's some more information, read up about it. But there's an open seat. If you would like to come, I would love you to join us and we can do it together." So, I did a bit of research and I thought, you know what? Honestly, I've not seen anything negative, and I feel like I need something to change me, like to shake me up a bit and give me something. I don't know what it is, but give me something.
Mm.
So I said yes. And I was a little bit scared because, it's plant medicine, it's considered as a drug and it's, mind altering state. So you never know what you're going to get with that kind of stuff.
Mm.
I felt the fear and did it anyway. I called her up and I said, "I'm going to come down. I'm going to, I'll do it the weekend before I go to Thailand. And then I've got some time to just integrate,
Integrate, yeah.
relax, and, not have to go back to all the responsibilities of the world." So I went down there and I had this experience, and wow, like I so many things happened within that 6 hours of that experience. And, it was a beautiful circle of a dozen people and it was a really lovely experience. And I purged and I cried and I sang and I danced and laid under the stars and was wowed by the entire universe and the feeling of how connected we all are, and all of those wonderful things that come through. But I was reminded of love, and I was reminded of
Mm.
self-love, and I was just reminded of, no matter how bad things get and how sad or angry or grief stricken you are, you still have this life and this great opportunity to be able to create whatever it is that you want in this life. And I took that with me to Thailand and I contemplated that and I asked myself the question, am I happy? Am I really happy? Am I being a good role model for my children? Am I setting a good example? What does my life look like? What can I change to make it better? And I got home from that holiday and I was back at work for 4 hours and I handed in my resignation. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but
Wow. Ooh, I'm getting goose pimples.
yeah, that was the catalyst was for such big change. So I left my corporate job. It was super financially supportive, like I said, but it wasn't supporting all of the other parts of me that really needed nurturing. It wasn't nurturing my heart. It wasn't nurturing my community sense. It wasn't, feeding my soul and giving me that real sense of connection and love and collaboration. I just felt like I was a number on a list and I was doing a good job, but yeah, it wasn't giving me time with my kids because I was working so many hours and all the rest of it. So, for the financial security end, I just thought, well, I can go back to waitressing or something. And that's what I did. Yeah, and I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't have the business that I have today. And I wouldn't have all of these amazing networks and connections around me that I have now had I not had of that experience, because that was the catalyst for change for me.
Yeah. Wow. That's yeah. I'm in awe that you did that big step because it's like, what the hell? But it's good that you knew that you had other things to call on, like your waitressing and whatever, and you trusted.
Yeah,
You
I did. I
trusted the
just trusted.
universe to provide.
Yeah, I just went in a moment of surrender and thought, look, if this is the right decision for me, something will come, and it did, and it has, and I'm honestly so much happier now than I
Mm,
ever was.
beautiful. Has there been a moment that you wish you could freeze in time?
Again, many moments that I wish I could freeze in time, but you know, sometimes the beauty of freezing that moment would be lost if it wasn't so fleeting. Sometimes it's the moment and the brevity of that moment that makes it so special and beautiful and memorable. So, in saying that, I'm going to say, no, I love all the moments that come and give us that inspiring little hug in our soul or tug on our heartstrings, because they're the moments that make life worth living and keep moving on. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a trigger that you're aware of that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I am really triggered by mean people. I'm triggered by injustice. I'm triggered by people who are not compassionate and kind. Because what's the point? What is the point? I mean, it doesn't take much to smile. It doesn't take much to reach out a hand to help someone. And it certainly takes way more effort to be mean and nasty than it does to be
Mm,
kind. And
mm.
yeah, that really gets my guard up.
Yeah, yeah. If a genie jumped out of the bottle and granted you one wish, what would that be?
It would be that every human on the planet would see the best in every other human first.
Wow.
Yeah. So we would all see the best in each other before we passed any other judgment. I think that would
Wow.
save a lot of war, of trouble, of unkindness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's certainly very contemplative for me. That's yeah, of how that would actually change so much. So
Yeah, it
yeah.
would impact everybody. It would impact everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe one time when I'm lying on the beach with the sun on me, I'll have a little think of that and just see how that would be beautiful. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was the last time you felt truly seen, and what was it about that moment that has stayed with you?
Ooh, I mean, I think I feel visible a lot of the time because I am so open and honest. I do try and share from the heart whenever anyone asks me a question, because I feel it's important to be honest so that we can also give others permission to be honest and open and feel seen and heard and be vulnerable. Um, and I guess I have moments like that every day because I am so vulnerable and honest. And, I think in regards to the question specifically, I had an incident last weekend where I said something that was not quite true of my personality, and I hurt someone else. And then for me to go back and say, hey, that's out of character for me. I was triggered. I'm really sorry. That, for them to see me in my vulnerability and accept my apology and be, still compassionate towards me, that was a really beautiful moment for me because
Mm.
I was the person who had done something wrong to hurt someone
Mm.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a great awareness that is, Narelle.
Thanks.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're not perfect.
No, we are human.
Yeah.
If you could send one message back to your younger self, a message and not advice, what would that be?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Mm.
I think it's we get when we're young, we can be so caught up in everything. Like everything seems so intense and important, and um yeah, we can hold a lot, I think, as young people. And I think it's a beautiful gift as we get older that we're able to discern for ourselves, I guess the saying pick your battles is what I'm trying to say. We can kind of discern what deserves or needs our energy over what really can be pushed to the side and not really worried about. But when we're younger, I think that's harder to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What does healing look like for you right now?
Giving myself space and time to feel into my body and ask it what it needs. And that's a daily practice. And then, and then answering that need. That's healing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you a question, and you don't have to answer it, but it feels like it's so important about heartfelt and self discovery. And, I know Narelle personally, but I don't know the new man in her life. And Narelle really openly on social media speaks about how, how she manifested this man. And I wondered if you could share a little bit about that because, I understand for me about allowing. I never knew in my first marriage how, I just thought we're together and we do everything the same. And now I've learned with Russell, my second husband, about how we can be walking on two different paths, but we're still holding space for one another. And I get goosebumps even talking about it. And Narelle, I feel like that is what's happening for you, and how empowering it is. So, would you like to share a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, it's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking. I love sharing
Mm.
about our relationship because it is such an amazing relationship. Joel is such an incredible man. Um, so yeah, I divorced my ex-husband. That was around about 14 years ago now. I had a couple of short-term relationships in subsequent years. So after that first 5 years of me finding my center again and getting back to myself and, raising my kids into their latter teenage years, I then thought it would be time to start, looking for a companion actively dating, because I didn't want to do that while I still had the kids as young children at home. And I had a network of amazing men around me. I had friends that had amazing partners. I had friends of my own right that were men that just were supportive and amazing and great friends. And I never felt like I missed out on anything, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I had time to start thinking about a companion, and I was sick of doing everything alone all the time. I wanted to be able to turn around and someone and say, remember that time we whatever. And so I really actively started to think about what that would look like for me. And I tried dating friends of friends, and I tried the dating apps, and honestly it was just not a great experience. I felt like um specifically with dating apps, there's just no prior connection. There's no, there's nothing that's a common thing that brings you together other than the fact that you're on a dating app. And I just found that no matter how hard I tried to think outside the square and be interested in other people, I'd never found someone who made me feel like I wanted to open up. And I was really honest with myself. Like, if I saw a red flag pop up, I would just be like, no, that's not what I want. I'm not going to settle for any less than something that makes me say fuck yes. Like, for me, my girlfriend and I had this conversation many times. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. And so
Mm.
staying true to myself and asking myself that question after I just, it might have been a lovely 4 hours that I just spent with a person on a first date or a second date or whatever, but it still didn't give me that, like, I want to open up my heart, my house, my temple to you. And so I sat down one full moon and I did a ceremony for myself, and I opened my journal and I wrote a list. On one page, I wrote a list of the things that I wanted to call in. And on the other page, I wrote a list of all the things I didn't want. So I was very specific in what I was calling in and what I wanted to bring for myself. And I think the list of the things I didn't want is just as important as the things that I did want. And I think that's something that, when you hear other dating coaches or whatever speak, I don't hear many of them speak about the list of things you don't want. They just tell you,
Mm.
oh, be specific with the thing that you do want, blah, blah, blah. So I think that was just as important. Anyway, I just, and I thought, I just go on being me. I'll do the things I love. I mean, you know me, Julie. I'm a very active person. I'm active in my community. I used to be a music journalist, so music's very close to my heart. I will always be at gigs, concerts, festivals. I would actively go to the gym. I actively go to yoga. And that's where I met Joel, at Hot Yoga. And first of all, it was just a really beautiful friendship that sparked. We went out for coffee. He had me over for dinner. Super nice dude. And I thought, oh, he's a really actually genuinely nice guy. And we started to spend a lot of time together. But it wasn't until I had an incident where I did something really dumb. I just bought a new car and I'd put unleaded petrol in a
Mm.
diesel car. And I thought, oh, how could you do that? Because I do feel like I'm a pretty intelligent person and I'm pretty switched on. But this day, it was just before Pranafest, and we'd had this long meeting. Like, I reckon it was about 4 hours. And I was just driving home on autopilot, stopped in at the petrol station, did what I usually do. Dumb move. Anyway, I called my daughter. She was busy and couldn't come and help. Called my son. He was at work, couldn't come and help. I'm like, who else can I call? I'll just call Joel and see where he's at. Anyway, he spent the whole entire afternoon with me because I didn't actually realize that I did it at first. My car just wouldn't start when I
Mm.
stopped at the shopping centre up the road on my way home. And I'm like, why won't my car start? Like, I just put fuel in it. I just did this. It's new, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, it dawned on me about 4 hours later into it, he was helping me figure this out. And yeah, I just thought, who would do that? Who does
Mm.
that? Like, and then I started to see him in a different light. And then, just to me, when I spent time with him, I was like looking at my list and I'm ticking off all of the things.
Mm.
And that's when it sort of occurred to me that there was something more than just friendship there. And then, yeah, he took me out for a picnic one afternoon and just declared out of the blue that he had feelings for me, and it was really beautiful. And yeah, haven't looked back since. So he was
Mm.
obviously feeling the same.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is so beautiful. And the
Yeah.
universe works in mysterious ways. What would happen if you didn't put the bloody wrong fuel in the car?
I know, it was so funny. It's like, it's been actually hilarious watching you as a person go through all of these emotions of, you feeling like you're dumb, and then feeling sad because you did it, and then worrying about the car working properly and this and that. It's like, it'll be fine. And it is fine. I still have the same car. It's great. But
Oh, goodness gracious me.
I'll never do that again.
You'll be very mindful every time you grab that nozzle that you're grabbing the right one.
I still read that and read the big sticker on the fuel cap that says diesel.
Yes, I feel like you're not alone there. I feel like it's happened quite a few times for people. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure,
yeah.
for sure.
Now, is there anything that you'd like to share about your business?
Yeah, look, I have a beautiful little fledgling business that I've just been starting up called Holistic Growth Academy. And it's a bit of an offshoot of what I do in Relish Creative with marketing, business, branding, but it's mentoring other business owners through the process of learning how to do that for themselves and learning how to come up with a great marketing strategy and using the digital platforms that really speak to their business. So, yeah, we just do a bit of a deep dive into their business and their goals and all of that kind of thing. And then usually work on branding, marketing strategies, website, even. But yeah, I mentor you through it so that you can learn the process for yourself and understand how that works. And I think it's super important to teach people how to do that in their own business first so that they can feel confident when they're pulling other people in. When you start making a bit of money and you want to pull in a contractor or hire an admin assistant or hire a social media marketer, you actually know what you want from that person and you can articulate that, so that because you've got a good handle on your own business goals and your own direction. And I think that's super important for people to understand. So that's why I started it.
Yes, and that's exactly how I got to know Narelle because she was collaborating with Trent and with for my blissful touch. So yes, so
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of times that I go, wow, I wouldn't have known this unless Narelle didn't teach me this. So yeah, every day I feel like I have moments where I go, wow, thank you, Narelle. Okay, well, thank you very much, Narelle, for sharing your story and answering those questions. And I am so grateful that you've given me your time. And thank you for sharing this moment with us. I hope something in this conversation stayed with you, opened something up in you, or simply made you feel seen. If this episode moved you, feel free to share it with someone who might need it too. And if you'd like to continue the journey with us, be sure to subscribe and stay connected. Until next time, take care of your heart and remember, your story
Story
matters.
matters.
Thank you, Narelle.
Thanks, Julie. You take care of your heart too, darling.
Yeah, thank you.